Now you might remember this video from a report here on the channel several weeks ago in which 73-year-old pensioner John Wilson was knocked down by some cretin on a push bike riding on the pavement. Now I said at the time about how disgusted I was that the cyclist didn't even get off his bike to check on the man who was left laying on the floor and was clearly in distress. In fact, it seemed like the most important thing to the cyclist was his bike and not the fact he could have seriously hurt the man. If it was me, I'd be crapping myself in case I had seriously injured him. Then I'd be thinking about the fact I was riding on the pavement, knowing full well that I was going to get the book thrown at me for my inconsiderate and careless actions. But then again, that's because I don't work for the police. Whereas the cyclist here, known only as Fred, does happen to work for the police. And what a surprise, his fellow cretinous cops has taken it upon themselves to decide that it's not in a public interest to prosecute Fred for his actions, even though cycling on a pavement is actually an offence. At the time of the incident, Fred failed to call for an ambulance for Mr Wilson and left him laying on the ground for some 15 minutes whilst another member of the public called an ambulance, when Mr Wilson was then taken to hospital to spend 10 hours in A&E suffering with cuts, bruises and broken ribs. However, Sussex Police bosses said it was not in the public interest to prosecute and instead only gave Fred a £30 fixed penalty notice because they felt their worker was not cycling in a wanton or furious manner. But guess what, Sussex Police? You seem to have forgotten the Road Traffic Act 1988 section 29, careless and inconsiderate cycling. If a person rides a cycle on a road without due care and attention or without reasonable consideration for other persons, he is guilty of an offence that any other member of the public would have been charged for. Careless and inconsiderate cycling means without due care and attention or reasonable consideration for other road users, carries a maximum £1,000 fine. Include the fact that poor Mr Wilson, who also had terminal cancer, was injured and suffered with broken ribs, and I can't see how it's not in the public's interest. Besides, who the fuck are you to tell people that it's not in the public interest? Now, for clarity, I do realise that the Act that I've just mentioned talks about riding on the road. There are other legislations that say that you mustn't ride on the pavement. However, in the brief chance I've had to look, I've not been able to find a causing injury whilst riding on the pavement legislation. So it would have to be one or a combination of various legislations that are put together. And I'm sure if I had a little bit more time, I'd be able to list all of those that would be potentially suitable for the offence that Fred committed. Mr Wilson scoffed at the £30 fine issued to Fred, saying that it was not fitting of the crime. He also said that Fred had not even apologised over the incident. But then again, he works for the police, and do we really expect the police to say sorry for actually doing something wrong? Fred's punishment is the lowest possible. Sussex Police said the matter was referred to our collision investigation unit for full review. On this occasion, taking all circumstances into account, the man received a final warning with words of advice for cycling on the pavement. Absolute cunt. Big thank you to the channel supporters, especially these guys. Your support is, of course, truly appreciated. Don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know your thoughts, as I know many of you will. And until next time, stay safe, look after each other, film the police and other officials.